Good evening, all. A very warm good evening to each and every one of you watching this session. Once again, a warm welcome from BioPoint Stream the World of Bio with yet another lecture from the chapter Plant Growth and Development. It's the third lecture from this chapter. The topic of the day is phytohormones. Rest the entire topics from this chapter has been covered in the past two lectures. So these phytohormones have been taken as a separate lecture for you. The rest, all the other topics from this chapter have been covered in the previous two lecture, and this session will purely be focusing on phytohormones. So let's move on. Reminding if anyone new is watching this session, be a part of BioPoint by joining in our Telegram group. The direct link to join the Telegram group is given there in the description box, and that is t.me/need_biopoint. So do become a part of BioPoint right now if you haven't joined our group yet. Do hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe BioPoint Stream the World of Bio for further session updates. So let's move on without wasting much time to today's chapter on plant growth and development. The topic plant growth regulators or phytohormones. Let's move on. Plant growth regulators are small, simple molecules that regulate plant growth. Oh God. So they are small, simple molecules that regulate plant growth. The growth and metabolic activities in case of humans is also regulated by certain hormones. In the same case, in case of plants also, their growth and development is also regulated by certain plant growth regulators or plant hormones. Yes, also known as phytohormones. So these are chemical compounds which regulate the growth and development in case of this plants, and mostly these phytohormones are organic, and they may be two types based on their function. That is, they may be plant growth promoters or plant growth inhibitors. One type of hormone that enables the further growing of the plant, then we can say it as plant growth promoters, and the type of hormones that inhibit the growth and initiates are the dormancy and abscission of leaves and fruits in a plant. Such type of hormones are known as what plant growth inhibitors or the other type of uh, plant growth regulators. Is it clear? That's about the two types of plant growth regulators. And after that, what we have to discuss is about the functions of this plant growth promoters and plant growth inhibitors. So plant growth promoters helps in growth promoting activities like cell division and enlargement, tropic growth, pattern formation, flowering, fruiting, and seed formation. These are the different functions in which plant growth promoting hormones they help. Yes, such as process such as cell division, tropic growth, that is growth in responses to tropic, that is like tropic movements like phototropism, one of the most important movement, that is response to light, the growth of the shoot tip in response to light. Yes, then pattern formation, flowering, fruiting, seed formation, all these are examples of growth promoting hormonal activities. Yes, the examples for such hormones are auxins, gibberellins, and cytokinins. These three hormones are the growth promoting hormones in plants, and the two growth inhibiting hormones are abscisic acid and ethylene. Abscisic acid and ethylene inhibit growth activities like promotes growth inhibiting activities like dormancy and abscission, response to wound and stress of biotic and abiotic origin. All these are different functions of plant growth inhibiting hormones. Is it clear? So the plant growth promoting hormones like auxins, gibberellins, and cytokinins, and plant growth inhibiting hormones like abscisic acid and ethylene. So ethylene can be fit in both of the groups, that is as both promoting and inhibiting, and but mostly it shows major characteristics as a growth inhibitor. Basically, that's about plant growth regulators, a basic introduction, and after that we have to move on with the further topics. Yes. Next, we are moving on with the types of this plant growth regulators. Very first thing we have learned about plant growth promoters and growth inhibitors. From the growth promoting hormones, the very first example that we have learned was the auxin, and that's what is the starting of phytohormones. Is it clear? So auxins, what are these auxins? Auxins are certain hormones or plant growth hormones, and this was first observed by Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin. Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin first observed that the coleoptiles, that is the tip of this canary grass, they are responding towards light source. Yes, when such a tip was removed, when such a tip is removed, if you look here, you can see certain substances here. Yes, when such a tip was removed like this, the plant doesn't respond to sunlight. Yes, the shoot tip doesn't respond to sunlight. And when a similar structure with such a tip was added, it again starts to bend towards the direction of light. Yes, it again starts to bend towards the direction of light. So this felt that some source of substances are present at the tip of the coleoptile. That's why when such a structure was cut, there was no response, and a similar structure when it was added, the plant again starts to grow towards its direction of sunlight. So finally, they concluded that coleoptile, the tip of the coleoptile, caused the bending of the entire coleoptile. Then bending of the entire coleoptile was caused by the tip of this coleoptile. And later on, a scientist called F.W. Wendt isolated auxin, that is the first phytohormone that we have to learn from this chapter. So this auxin from the tip of coleoptiles of oat seedlings. So by which process he obtained? He obtained this, one second. He obtained this auxin by a process known as Avena curvature test. Avena refers to the oat plant. Avena curvature test. Okay. So this was first isolated by a scientist called a biologist called F.W. Wendt. Yeah, from the tip of coleoptiles of oat seedlings, and it was first isolated from very first isolation of auxin was from human urine. The very first isolation of auxin was from human urine, and it was by the help of two biologists called as Cogg and Smith. Two biologists, Cogg and Smith. These two biologists were first isolated auxin from human urine. Yes, auxins are produced by the growing abscess of stems and roots from where they migrate to the regions of their action. That's about the introduction of auxin. And now what we are going to discuss is the type of auxins, the various types of auxins. So there are two basic types of auxin, that is natural as well as synthetic. Natural auxins and synthetic auxins. Okay, so natural auxins, the examples are indole 3-acetic acid or IAA, indole butyric acid or IBA, and these were first isolated, or these two types of natural auxins were isolated from plants. Is it clear? And the synthetic auxins are NAA or naphthalene acetic acid and 2,4-D, that is 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic. Is it clear? That's about the types of auxin and from where they are isolated. There are both natural and synthetic auxins. Natural auxins isolated from isolated from plants, and the examples are indole 3-acetic acid and indole butyric acid. And synthetic auxins, that is NAA, naphthalene acetic acid, or 2,4-D, that is 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic. These two were two synthetic phytohormone. Is it clear? Yes. And that's about the types of auxins, and let's move on to the further slides. Functions of auxins. What are the various functions of auxins? Let's learn in detail. The basic function of auxin is to initiate rooting in stem cuttings. Initiate rooting. Of God, the color is not clear. 1 second. Initiate rooting in stem cuttings for plant propagation. Yes, when a stem is cut, for such a stem, the root is initiated by the help of auxin. Is it clear? And it promotes flowering. That is in pineapples. There is an example is in case of pineapples. Flowering is promoted by auxin. After that, it prevents fruit and leaf drop at early stages. At early stages of the plant, the fruit and leaf drop is maintained or is prevented by auxins. Yes, and what next is that it promotes abscission of older leaves and fruits. Promotes abscission of older leaves and fruit. When such an aged leaf or fruit is present, it promotes the abscission, that is the falling of such an older leaf and a root and a fruit. Okay, it induces parthenocarpy, that is in case of tomatoes. It induces parthenocarpy and can be used as herbicide. 2,4-D, that is 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic, is used to kill dicot weeds and it cannot affect monocot plants. Therefore, weed-free lawns can be prepared by the action of 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic. Yes, weed plants will surely get died and rest the monocot plants or the lawns will stay secure. Is it clear? So it controls xylem differentiation and helps in cell division is another function of auxin. So these are the different functions of auxins that is there as per your NCERT. Yes. It is given in just as statements in a paragraph in your NCERT. And now here what I have did is have just differentiated it into most points that will be easy for you to learn since your exams is of two pattern, that is the term 1 and term 2. Term 1 of MCQs and term 2 is of theory. So in both the convenient study of MCQs as well as for the theory, what is necessary, this denotation of the theory part in points or bulletin points is very essential and that may aid more faster in your studies. Is it clear? So that's about auxin. And now what else? The last and final point, in higher plants, growing apical bud inhibits the growth of lateral buds and it is known as apical dominance. So apical dominance was also promoted by auxins. Apical dominance was also promoted by auxin, that is it suppresses the growth of lateral buds. If you look here, you can see lateral buds and their growth is suppressed by auxins. Yes. And what else you can see? You can see the growth of apical bud. Here are the apical bud is removed. Okay. Is it clear? So that's about apical dominance and the removal of shoot tips or removal of this apical bud is known as, or the dominated part is known as what? Decapitation, resulting and that result in the growth of lateral branches. When such a branch with a high concentration of auxin is removed, what happens next? Then only lateral buds and lateral branches are there. So it enables the growth of lateral buds and it is applied in case of tea plantations and hedge making. In tea plantations, what happens when we cut the tea leaves of this tea, we are cutting it from the upper part, right from the tip. So younger leaves are just collected in tea plantations. So what happens is that the apical bud is also cut along with that and that enables the growth of the tea plantations, that is the lateral buds of the tea plantations. Is it clear? That's about auxin and now we are moving on to gibberellin. So is it perfectly fine till now? Thank you so much for your responses. So let's move on with gibberellins. What is gibberellins and what we have to learn from this gibberellins? These are acidic plant growth regulators. Yes, acidic plant growth regulators. E. Kurosawa treated the sterile filtrates of Gibberella fugicori, that is a fungus, that causes Beckane disease or foolish seedling in rice to healthy rice seedlings. As a result, it showed symptoms of Beckane disease. Yes, later the active substances were identified as gibberellic acid. So all of you just understand that a scientist called as E. Kurzova, the sterile filtrates of a certain fungus called as Gibberella fugicori was treated to healthy rice seedlings. And what happens is that the healthy rice seedling was also affected or also showed the symptoms of Beckane disease. And later, this substances that cause this Beckane disease was identified as gibberellic acid. There are more than 100 gibberellins, and that is GA1, GA2, GA3, that is in fungi and higher plants, and GA3 is the most active form of gibberellic acid. Yes, GA3, gibberellic acid 3 is the most active form of gibberellins. Is it clear? And that was the first gibberellins to be discovered and remains the most intensively studied form. So one of the first GA3 or terpenes was one of the first discovered gibberellic acids or gibberellins, and it is the most intensively studied form of gibberellins still right now. Is it clear? Next, what we have to learn is the functions of gibberellins. Functions of gibberellins. What are the functions of gibberellins? Let's discuss in detail. They help in the increase of length of the axis. So they are used to lengthen grape stalks. Yes, in case of grapes, their stalks should be lengthy. So this action of gibberellins increases the length of the stalks, and therefore to lengthen the grape stalks, gibberellins are used. They elongate and improve the shape of fruits like apple. Elongate and improve shapes. Yes. So elongation and improvement of shapes of apple in such a size we can be obtained with the help of what? The action of gibberellins. Look here, such an acid is elongated, that is enlarged to such a shape or improved to such a shape with the action of gibberellins. They delay senescence or aging, so the fruits can be left on the tree to extend the market period. GA3 is used to speed up malting in brewing industry. So in brewing industries, the process of malting is speed up by the gibberellic acid 3. So spraying sugarcane with gibberellins increases length of the stem. Spraying sugarcane with gibberellins increases the length of their stem and increases the yield 20 tons per acre. So yield production can also be increased. Yield can also be increased with the action of gibberellins. That is, their length is increased in case of sugarcanes, and such it can be increased to 20 tons per acre the yield. Yes. Spraying juvenile conifers with gibberellic acid hasten the maturity period. So juvenile conifers sprayed with gibberellic acid speeds or hastens the maturity period, and it leads to early seed production. For bolting, that is internode elongation just prior to flowering, in beet, cabbages, and many plants with rosette habitat, gibberellins is used. These are the different functions of gibberellic acids or gibberellins, that is used to increase in length of the axis, elongate and improve shape, delay senescence, speed up malting in brewing industry. Spraying sugarcane with gibberellins increases length of the stem. Yes, and hastens maturity period, leading to early seed production, internode elongation or bolting. These are the different functions of gibberellins. Is it clear? So what else we have to say is about the next phytohormone, that is cytokinin. Cytokinin. What we have to learn from the topic of cytokinin? Come on. We have cytokinin, and after that ethylene and abscisic acid left in today's session. So is it clear till now? If there is any doubt, you may ask it directly. I'm waiting for your responses. Yes. So that's about auxins and gibberellins. So let's move on with cytokinins. F. Skoog, oh God, the colors are same. F. Skoog and co-workers observed that from the internodal segments of tobacco stems, callus, that is a mass of undifferentiated cells, is known as callus, and they proliferated only if the nutrient made medium was supplemented with extracts of vascular tissues, yeast extract, coconut milk, or DNA. So what is that cytokinins? So how they identified the cytokinins from the internodal segments of tobacco stems? That is a mass of undifferentiated cells. They just proliferated. Only a nutrient-rich supply was provided to them. That is either with vascular tissues, yeast extract, coconut milk, or DNA, which or either of this should be provided to have a proliferation in those callus. Yes, Skoog and Miller later identified and crystallized the active substance and termed it as kinetin. This kinetin were discovered as cytokinins were discovered as kinetin, that is N6 furfuryl purine, an adenine derivative from autoclaved herring sperm DNA. So these cytokinins were discovered first in the form of kinetin from autoclaved herring DNA, sperm DNA, and it was discovered in the form of N6 furfuryl aminopurine, and it was a derivative of adenine. And all of you know that this adenine is a base pair in DNA. So from an adenine derivative, we discovered the cytokinin. Yes, kinetin does not occur naturally in plants. In plants, we cannot see this kinetin naturally, occurring naturally. Is it clear? So zeatin from corn kernels and coconut milk is natural substances with cytokine-like activities. So if you look here, the zeatin from corn kernels and coconut milk. From coconut milk, all of you know the zeatin content, and this is a natural substance with cytokinin-like activities. And there are some synthetic compounds with cell division promoting activity. Certain synthetic substances are also present with cell division promoting activity. And natural cytokinins are synthesis in regions of rapid cell division, such as root apices, shoot buds, and young fruits. In these regions, we can see natural cytokinins. Is it clear till now about cytokinins? Clear till now about cytokinins, and now we are moving on with the functions, and after that we have ethylene and abscisic acid. Few more slides left in today's lecture. So if it is perfectly fine till now, so that I can move on with the functions of cytokinins. So the main function is their role in cytokinesis. All of you know, I have covered the chapter of cell cycle and cell division. All of you know the process of cytokinesis, and the cytokinins also play a most important role in cytokinesis of plants. They help to produce new leaves. In production of new leaves, chloroplast in leaf, lateral growth, adventitious shoot formation, all these are different functions of cytokinins. They help to overcome the apical dominance. So what is the basic function of cytokinins is it suppresses apical dominance and enables the formation of lateral buds. Enables the growth of lateral buds. That is what the function of cytokinin is. Promote nutrient mobilization, and that helps in the delay of leaf senescence. So it promotes the nutrient mobilization or transport in order to delay the aging of leaf. In order to delay the aging of leaf, nutrient medium is also provided by cytokinins. Is it clear? So let's move on. Ethylene. Next is ethylene, the second largest hormone and the first plant growth inhibitor that we are going to learn today. Yes. So we have covered all about the plant growth promoting hormones and how they act on plants, what are their different functions. All these things we have covered, and now we are moving on with ethylene. Yes. So ethylene is the only gaseous plant hormone. The only gaseous plant hormone is ethylene. Yes, simple gaseous plant growth regulator. Cousins confirmed that the release of a volatile substance from ripened oranges hastened the ripening of stored bananas. So when a raw banana, that is a banana which was not ripened, was placed along with ripened oranges, what happened is that they observed this bananas also start to ripen. Yes, and later on they identified that this ripening of bananas was caused by a substance or a volatile substance released from this ripened oranges. So as we have discussed this, ethylene is a gas, and such a gas from the ripened oranges cause the ripening of this banana. Yes. So the ethylene is a simple gaseous plant growth regulator. And this is in large amounts by tissues undergoing senescence and ripening of fruits. So when tissues are undergoing senescence or aging and the fruits are ripened, large scale synthesis of ethylene occurs. Yes. And that is a basic introduction of ethylene. So what are the functions, different functions of ethylene? It influences horizontal growth of seedlings, swelling of axis, apical hook formation. Look here, you can see apical hook, how such a plant growth is turned into an apical hook formed. Yes, in dicot seedlings. Promotes senescence and abscission of plant organs, especially of leaves and flowers. Promotes fruit ripening, enhances the respiration rate during fruit ripening, and this is known as what? Respiratory climatic. So what is respiratory climatic? That is, the respiration rate is increased during the time of fruit ripening, and that is with the help of ethylene, and such a process known as what? Respiratory climatic. And it breaks seed and bud dormancy, initiate germination in peanut seeds, sprouting of potato seeds. All those things are examples of ethylene. Yes, sprouting of potato tubers, initiate germination in peanut seeds, break seed and bud dormancy. All these are functions of ethylene. And what else we have to cover from that? Rest of the functions. Promotes rapid internode or petiole elongation in deep water. Ripe plants helps to it helps leaves or upper parts of the shoot to remain above water. Promotes root growth and root hair formation. Root growth and root hair formation is promoted by ethylene and increasing the absorption surface. Used to initiate flowering and for synchronizing fruit set in pineapple, also induces flowering in mango. It is widely used in agriculture. All these are different functions of ethylene. Yes, the basic function is what helps in the ripening of fruits and break the bud and dormancy stage of seed. Yes, what is bud and dormancy stage? That is the inactive stage, right? So ethylene helps in the breakage of such an inactive stage in the case of this fruits and flowers and seeds. Yes. So let's move on to the further topics. We have to learn about one compound called as ethifone. Yes, what is ethifone? Ethifone is the most widely used source of ethylene. Most widely used source of ethylene is ethifone. It is an aqueous solution and that is readily absorbed and transported slowly within the plant and releases ethylene slowly. So this ethifone gets readily absorbed by the plant and very slowly it releases ethylene. So ethifone hastens or speeds up fruit ripening in tomatoes and apples and accelerates abscission in flowers and fruits. Yes, abscission was falling. Yes, or further maturation. So thinning of cotton, cherry, walnut, all these are done with the help of this ethifone, can be speed up or hastened by the help of this ethifone. Promotes female flowers in cucumber, thereby increasing the yield. Female flowers is promoted in cucumber and thus increasing the productivity of cucumbers. Yes, is it clear? That's about ethifone. And now we are moving on to abscisic acid. So last and final topic. So is it perfectly fine till now? All of you, please respond. Thank you so much for your responses. So let's move on with the topic of abscisic acid. During mid-90s, it was reported 3 kinds of inhibitors, that is inhibitor B, abscess 2 and dormin. They were chemically identical and known as abscisic acid. So chemical constitution of inhibitor B, abscissin 2 and dormin, all these were same and therefore it is known as abscisic acid. So abscisic acid or ABA are derivatives of carotenoids. Carotenoid derivatives are abscisic acid and regulates abscission and dormancy in plants. Regulates abscission and dormancy in case of plants. Is it clear? Very simple chapter, and the plant growth regulators are also a very simple topic. That's why I'm moving in such a speed. Yes, hope you all are able to follow up with me. Yes. So this later on now discuss the functions of abscisic acids. So they act as an inhibitor of plant growth and metabolism, inhibits seed germination, stimulates closure of stomata in the epidermis, increases tolerance of plants to various kinds of stresses. Therefore, this acid is known as stress hormone. Another name for abscisic acid is what? Stress hormone. It plays an important role in seed development, maturation, and dormancy. Seed dormancy by abscisic acid helps to withstand desiccation and other factors unfavorable for growth. Yes, desiccation and factors that are unfavorable for growth is also what maintained by, helps to maintain by abscisic acid. And that was the last and final statement for today. So hope each and every topic that what we have discussed is clear for you. Yes, and do hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe BioPoint Stream, the world of bio, for further session updates. And it's me signing out from your favorite and my favorite BioPoint Stream, the world of bio. Bye bye.